we're ready to go.
All right, welcome everyone. Let me call to order the monthly regular meeting of the Zionsville Board of Parks and Recreation. It's Wednesday, September 9th at 7 p.m. And due to coronavirus concerns and Governor Eric Holcomb's executive orders, we are holding this meeting virtually via Zoom. I'm going to begin by the roll call of our members. Vice President John Wollenberg. Are you here? I see you. Okay, that's a thumbs up. Wayne Bivens.
Present.
Present.
Jill Pack.
Present.
John Stair.
Present.
John Salovich.
Here.
Aaron Bidwell. Aaron is not present currently. Let me also introduce and acknowledge our counsel, Roger Burris, our interim superintendent, Mindy Murdoch, our IT consultant, Joe Rust, and I believe Tricia McClellan, who will be a part of the presentation later on from REA, is also present. All right, at this point in the meeting, we ask that if there are any members of the public present who would like to make a presentation or a comment, please do so. We have received one request from Pete Proust to make a public presentation. And Pete, if you're with us right now, we're gonna ask you to hold till we, excuse me, ask that you hold until we discuss the golf cart, club car lease and the 2021 golf course budget. I think that will give better context to your public comments, Pete. So if you're present, that will be a little, we're going to put you on hold for probably 45 minutes before we get to that. Are there any other members of the public who would now like to make a presentation or ask a question or make any sort of comment?
I see no hands raised.
If not, then we'll proceed to our staff reports. Mindy.
Sure.
Superintendent,
Yeah.
Go ahead. What's
yeah,
hot?
No problem. Just real fast for you. I know we got a lot to go through on our agenda, so we're going to go through this pretty quickly. In your packet, you had the park maintenance overview report as well as the naturalist report and the income report from the Zionsville Golf Course. So just real quick, as far as with maintenance, we have started on the renovations that you approved at the last board agenda for the Mulberry Fields restrooms. So we have installed new fans in those restrooms to help with the humidity and with the moisture. We've also installed, Dave and his crew installed hand dryers in the bathrooms. We do have water fountains and new doors coming as well, but we are actually going to hold off on those installations until the splash pad closes, and that's one of the agenda items to discuss, just a quick discuss on that one. So just want to let you know that those are moving along, and so hopefully here in the next couple months those bathrooms will have a nice makeover. As far as for our programming, we started Tales on the Trails on September 1st. We currently have, so your report that I gave you is wrong. We currently have 40 dogs now registered. We've led 2 dog walks. We have a third tomorrow night at Turkey Foot. So if you know anyone or if you have your dog and want to participate, our Pet Value and Pet Supplies Plus have provided some fantastic prizes for our WAG bags. And that first WAG bag drawing will be next Monday. So again, even with COVID, it seems like we have similar numbers to what we've had in the last 3 years as far as participants go, and people are looking forward to having that available again. We also put the Nature Center is now back to its normal weekend hours. We've been running on limited hours, but we are now back to full hours of 10 to 5 and noon to 5. And we've started to do some, we're still doing Facebook Friday virtual programs, but we've started to do a few in-person outside only by registration, the dog walks being one of those. And then Rachel has been doing some family programming on Saturdays as well. But again, very limited people, making sure we stay outside so we can social distance. And then if you look at that golf course report, and this will kind of tie in when we talk budget, you can see that since June, the last 3 months, we have had record income coming in for the golf course. So even into August, we are still at levels that we have not seen really since that report that you have in your hand. So things are going very well with the golf course right now. So definitely being very busy. The only other thing I will add, because you might have seen it on Facebook, is that we are having some issues with our irrigation system. So we are actually closing the golf course Friday to take a good look at that one, get the system up and running. Can't do that with golfers on the course. They wouldn't appreciate it getting wet. And hopefully by Friday, we can either have fixed the issue or at least have addressed it so we know exactly what the problem is. Then we can take steps to resolve that one. So Dave is working, since Mike is unfortunately on leave right now. Dave is going to be working closely with that one to get that up and to get that fixed and addressed, because we can't keep going with the system we just purchased and running into issues with it. So that's really all I have, unless anyone has any questions on the kind of the day to day.
All right, if there are no questions, let's move on to Roger Burris's Park Board Attorney staff report.
Actually, did we forget to do the minutes, approve the minutes?
We did.
Oh, we did.
That's
All
Need
right.
to highlight that one.
That's
I
one of
always
the
for- I
attorney's
always
most
forget
important
that.
jobs. And also, I don't think we have minutes for our special meeting on September 3rd, but we need to.
Yeah, we'll get those next month. But yeah, any comments? Let's go back to minutes. We'll interrupt our flow here and go back to minutes of August 12th meeting. So there's been submitted to everyone for review and comment. Are there any comments, corrections, questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of August 12th?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Member Bivens has moved, Member Stair has seconded a motion to approve the minutes of August 12th. We'll do a roll call vote. John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Wayne Bivens,
Aye.
Jill Peck,
Aye.
John Stair,
Aye.
John Solovich,
Aye.
Erin Bidwell, are you here? No, she's not. All right, the motion carries and the minutes of August 12th are approved. Now we'll return to Roger's staff report. Thanks, Roger.
Okay, first item is just kind of a general comment about that from time to time, we are notified of Plan Commission or zoning appeals meetings where property owners have proposals cases where they may adjoin park property. So typically those are routed to me or to the superintendent. And we always look at those just to make sure that those proposals would not have any adverse impact on our parks. We recently got a proposal from the owners of 965 West Pine Street. They're planning to build a retaining wall. This would be along the rail trail, at the west end of Pine Street. And so I looked at those and passed along to Mindy, and neither of us see any concerns about that. But just want to let you know that we do check those sorts of things just to make sure that there's not going to be any adverse impact on the parks. Secondly, we had quite a discussion last time about the Storen property and the right of first refusal. So after that meeting, I learned that the Storens unexpected, unusual buyer had backed out. So sorry that we had to go through all that for no reason, but actually it did bring up some issues that I've talked to the Storens about, where we may be able to kind of refine that agreement and make it work better should it ever have to be addressed in the future. Also, just an update, Line property, we're still working to see if we can make that work. I'm still hopeful. Continues to be a little complicated, but I'm still working on that. The last thing I wanted to report on, just as a status report, is regarding the Holiday Road vacation of the road proposal, which would be before the county commissioners. They're kind of holding off while the Zionsville town staff and various town officials consider that and think about how it could work into our future plans. So we've met with town staff. We've also met with the county attorney and the Hankey Group, developer of Holiday Farms, and just trying to make sure we get everybody on the page. Those discussions have been very helpful, and we've gotten some proposals from the property owner to the west regarding some trail improvements and easements that we will continue to evaluate. I think we have another meeting planned for the town staff to go over those on September 23rd. I think the rest of the things I wanted to comment on are down on the agenda. So unless there are any questions, that's it from me for now.
Any questions? If not, we'll move to our inserted item on new business, and that's the consideration of the proposed employment offer for Jared Logsdon. So again, Jared, maybe, Jared is the director of parks and at Yamhill County. It's McMinnville, Oregon. He went to Ball State, has a master of public administration as well. So he was one of the 3 finalists who came through and is the top recommendation right now for the 5-member nominating committee. I think you've all seen the proposed contract that has gone around. And John Stair, would you like, before we'll have some time for discussion, but John Stair, would you like to move approval of that contract?
Yes, I'd be pleased to. I think that Jared is going to be a great addition to our park system, is going to be a great superintendent. So yes, I would propose and move that we accept the offer to Jared Logsdon and further welcome him to Zionsville when he's able to make the move and get here.
Great. I would second that and let you know that I've spoken with Jared yesterday and again today. And again, he's excited. He's got many things to work on. His goal date is October 14th to get here. Any questions at this point? If not, let's do.
Hey,
go ahead.
Question: as far as the transitioning Mindy's interim duties over to Jared, will that kind of how will that work?
Well, Jared and Mindy and I are going to have to discuss that. So I was joking with Mindy and then later joking with Jared that his first target date for coming here is our next board meeting. So yeah, he'd be happy to be in charge of that board meeting on October 14th, wouldn't he? So, but yeah, we have some things to work out there, John, for sure. All right, if no more discussion, we'll call the roll on the motion to approve the proposed employment contract for Jared Logsdon. John Wallenberg.
Aye.
Wayne Bivens.
Aye.
Jill Pack.
Aye.
John Stair.
Aye.
John Salovich.
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell, I don't believe is present, so the motion passes unanimously of those present. I don't know, Jared, can Jared talk to it? Is he here? He may not be. It's only 4:30 p.m. in Oregon, so I don't know. But if he's there, I certainly want to give him a chance to say hey.
There he is.
Sorry if there's a yellow tint. There's some wildfires going around, but happy to be joining you this evening.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Excited to get there in one piece and start working with Zionsville.
No fires here.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, our fire
It's
season's still-
2020, let's say yet. No fires yet.
That's right.
Well, great. Welcome, Jared, to the family. And yeah, feel free to jump in with any questions you have during the rest of the meeting as well.
Sounds
Or
good.
Give me a
Look-
call afterwards, or Mindy, or anyone. So,
All right.
all right, let's move on to the next item of new business, which is a sensitive issue involving a resolution that we would like to send to town council regarding the potential condemnation of 3 remaining parcels on our south extension of our rail trail. So just basic, I'll let Roger pick up on this, but basically the big picture is, as you know, we have a design construction document contract in place and being pursued. We're about ready to go over 50% construction documents with REA and Tricia on the south extension. We've recently added the replacement of a bridge. That's for later in the agenda, actually, to approve that officially. And that addition to the rail trail is key to Overly Warman Park. And you'll hear from Tricia later that Overly Warman Park will be ready to go out to bid within the next 3 to 4 weeks. It's got one final step with planning, and then we're ready to roll on that. So we want to keep these 2 projects, not far apart from one another. And although we've been discussing with parcel owners for some time, we are running into a timeline buzzsaw. So we are in the process of, we briefed Josh Garrett and have a briefing that we're trying to schedule with town administration officials so that they know exactly what's happened and what might happen in the future. So Roger, you want to fill in any details or holes there?
Sure. My first and most important comment is that the park board has the power of eminent domain, but we would never use that power lightly. We would only use it as a last resort if there's property that we really, really need and we're unable to agree with the property owner as to the price. So recommending we seek approval of these resolutions by the town council doesn't change the fact that we're going to continue working with these property owners and trying to work out a voluntary agreement. So that's number one. And these projects have been going on for some time. They were all approved by the park board in late 2018 or early 2019, but I think several of you were not on board at that time, so you probably wouldn't remember that. So it's the 2 properties that would be the trailhead of the road. Those are both full acquisition of homes. So again, that's a little different than your typical pathway right-of-way or easement acquisition, because it does involve, kind of forcing somebody to relocate where they live. But that's not always something that's a bad thing. I mean, property owners sometimes welcome that opportunity. And these are very old homes, both of them that are not in very good condition. From that standpoint, I think it would be an improvement. I'm not saying that the owners think it's an improvement, but I think from the town's perspective, it would be improvement for those homes to be converted into a trailhead for the Big 4 rail trail. And then there's one parcel of the of what would be the rail trail itself. We've been talking to that property owner quite a bit. The property owners indicated that they'd be inclined to give us what we're asking for. We've made some concessions already. And so I'm really not expecting that one to go to an eminent domain situation. But basically, you know, I just want to make sure that I have the authority to proceed with what may become necessary to acquire these properties in order to keep our projects moving as planned. So the procedure, it would be for the park board to approve or asking the town council to approve our use of eminent domain if necessary. And so I mentioned earlier that the park board has the power of eminent domain, but when Zionsville had their first government reorganization with Eagle and Union Townships in 2010, they decided that before the park board would ever use the authority of eminent domain, they would need to have town council authority to do so, you know, for a specific project or specific property. So that's why I initiated this, the resolution for the town council to approve the park board's use of eminent domain if we need to do that in order to maintain our time frames on these two connected projects, the Big Four Rail Trail South Extension and the two properties for the trailhead. So that's basically the situation.
Trying to get myself familiar exactly. Is there an address?
Yeah, the Zionsville Road parcels are 10202 and 10230 Zionsville Road. They're right, you know, in between the rail trail and Von Terra subdivision.
Hey, Roger, I feel like I remember maybe for sure one of these property owners, but maybe the second at the public meeting for the Von Terra, they were working to get acquired by the Von Terra subdivision, but then it was determined that they didn't need that land. So are you able to say what's holding it up, or is that not for dissemination?
Well, I mean, Von Terra did not acquire them. They might have tried.
Yeah, but I mean, it sounded like the property owner was receptive to that, but the Von Terra had said they didn't need them. So is there, what's happened now that they?
Yeah, I don't know that anything's happened. I mean, I've talked to one of the property owners a couple of times, and I mean, they seem kind of relieved that they finally know this is going to happen, because they've kind of felt like they were in a lot of uncertainty before. So.
They're kind of on an island there, aren't they?
Pardon?
They're kind of on an island.
Yeah. And the other one I haven't heard from, but I will continue to try them to respond, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to them.
Roger, can the rail trail move ahead to completion of the trail without these properties?
Yes, I mean, so there's one property we still need, and I see Tricia is on board now. The one property we still need, I think we almost definitely need that for our rail trail project. And that's the one where the property owner has indicated, you know, given kind of a positive response. But the true trailhead properties be absolutely required for us to finish the rail trail. It would just give us the opportunity of establishing a trailhead, you know, with a bathroom and a parking area there at Zionsville Road.
Okay.
That's optional in my mind, but you know, hopefully it all works out.
Any other questions? All right, is there a motion to approve sending the resolutions on to town council?
I make the motion to forward the resolutions to town council.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Member Wallenberg makes the motion. Member Solovich seconds the motion to approve the resolutions as presented to the meeting and to forward or send them on to town council for its consideration. Any more discussion? Then let's do a roll call vote. John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Wayne Bivens,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Stair,
Aye.
John Solovich.
Aye.
I also vote aye. So the motion unanimously carries.
Thank you.
All right, onward, park impact fees. Oh my gosh, okay, put on your yeah, your thinking cap here. And Mindy, I want to thank Mindy and Roger for digging into park impact fees. This is the most esoteric. Consultants do really, really well with park impact fees. It is one of the most difficult areas I have ever seen in my life. But I think we almost have it figured out. But Mindy, go ahead. What do you think?
All right, so you should have an Excel sheet that I put together. We are currently in the process, I believe the first meeting is tomorrow, to revise our park impact fees and get an updated ordinance. So that is going forward and ahead, but that still means that we have our current park impact fees working off of our current ordinance that we have. And there's been a lot of kind of gray area of what we can and what we can't do. So I actually not sat down, but sent lots of emails back and forth with Baker Tilly and read more of the park impact fee document than I want to admit that I actually read through. And I actually had a eureka moment, and I have figured out park impact fees. So hopefully the Excel sheet you have in front of you helps explain what I'm going to go over.
What
So
page?
you see there
Where is that in
listed.
the packet?
That would have been right after for the resolution. Yeah, there should be like nope, that's the dog park one, Roger. Should be this one. Green and yellow.
Or ordinance standards. Okay, got it.
Yeah, current ordinance standards would have been on the top. There we go. If I have to, I can pop it up and everyone can see, basically what we have. But so the way they work our impact fees is that they broke it out by actual amenities. I've learned that not every city does this one. That's something that maybe later we consider in future park impact fees to look just at general capital versus actual amenities. But we focus on amenities. And you can see when the current money that we have, when it was put together, they had current standards. So you'll see the LOS, which would be the level of service target ratios, were set by the committee at that time. So they looked at population and they determined at what population level you would need how much. So basically, if you had 10,000 people, you would need one baseball field, for example. So when you hit 20,000 people, you should have 2 baseball fields for your parks. So they took that level of service ratio. And then you'll see beyond that, there was when they did this standard, they had the inventory level of what we currently had in our parks at that time. And then they had what the target inventory was. So when they put together this document with the ordinance, that was the target that based on our population, what we should have. And then if you keep going over, you'll see there's a line that has some negative, that's a red. So that shows where there is, at that time when we did this, if there might have been a surplus, meaning we had more of those amenities than we needed to for our target, or there might have been a negative, which meaning we had a deficit. So the way the park impact fees work is that you cannot utilize them for anything that you are in a deficit for. meaning you have to use your own money, your own capital money so on here, baseball is a great one. So we would need to build 2.43 baseball fields to get out of deficit. So then once you figure all that one out, then you start projecting ahead, and the document projected out a couple different times. The last projection is actually for this year, 2020. And based off of what they thought the population would grow, what that future population would need. So that's where park impact fees come into play. So if you've already reached your deficit, so you're at 0 or you have a surplus, then you project ahead and you look. So here we could look at what our 2020 inventory could be and say how we could use park impact fees to build amenities that would be for those future populations. So it's basically using the money because it's for new homes coming in. So it's money to support amenities for those new residents that will be coming in there. So I broke all of that out. The green line is actually the inventory number that was taken off of the current document we're working on, which will be revised a little bit. I know Tricia will be helping with that revision as well. And then the last ones are basically where we are right now today on what we could use that money we have in our park impact fees and what we could use it towards. And you'll see that there are some there that we need to meet our deficit first before we even consider. And our deficit's pretty large. And that's things like baseball fields and basketball courts. We have not invested into those, just probably because of Lions Park. We didn't see a need for baseball fields at the time. But then there's other ones in there that we could. So for an example, and then I put notes of potential. Currently, right now, we have a little over 6 miles of natural pathways. For 2020, our target is a little over 7. So there's roughly almost a mile worth of natural pathways that we could put the money into. So a great example would be the natural pathways that we are putting into Overly Warman Park. That portion of those pathways, we could actually use park impact fees to fund versus bond money. Another one going down through there, we are currently working on, we can actually go all the way down the bottom, the dog park that we are currently putting in at Heritage Trail Park, which will be at the end of this board meeting, the discussion on the budget for that one. When this was done, we had no dog park. But our ratio is actually 81% of a dog park is what we needed. I don't know how you build 81% of something. So we are at a deficit. But if you put in a dog park, because if you look at the projected inventory for future, we should have a full dog park and 6% of another. So if we actually put in a dog park, which we're doing, that raises us beyond what that original deficit was. So that actually allows us to use 19% of the cost of a dog park can come from park impact fees, because that moves us up to 1. So 19% of our current budget, you're looking about $26,000 for our dog park could come out of park impact fees roughly. So that kind of gives you that one. So I guess my big one is I wanted you to put this out here because there are potentials for Overly Warman Park. There's potentials for picnic shelters. I know one of them, the Laurel Avenue Picnic Shelter, Overly Warman Park picnic shelters could all utilize portions or all of park impact fees to build. We talk about Holiday Nature Park because we're going to be getting into the budget. The shelter there at Holiday Nature Park could be paid by park impact fees if you use it the way that it's kind of drafted in this document. And then kind of looking ahead into the future, there is currently where we stand, we can fund with our park impact fees, we could fund 27% of a community center, as well as 27% of a maintenance facility, if you thought we needed our own maintenance facilities. And even as small as if we felt that we needed a storage barn somewhere in the parks, 37% of that storage barn could also come out of park impact fees.
So
So
taking
there
a
is
step, let me
some
take a
great
step,
potential. Yeah.
taking a step back, remember this, there's a limit to this, and that's how much is in the fund. But since
Yes.
2010, we have been collecting from every developer a few $100s per new construction house, new home, and that has now accumulated to about between $1 and $2 million.
Yes.
So remember, we haven't really done that much capital spending in the last 10 years. And it might be a little unfair, but we've not done a very good job of using park impact fees, or maybe we've just had no opportunities. You'd have to go back and see whether we missed an opportunity to use some of that fund to fund past capital projects. But there have been very few capital projects is the point. Now we've got a bunch of them. So it will be great to have that as an alternative source of funding. You know, if we permit Mindy with the new CFO of the town and with Rogers looking at that to ensure that we appropriately call on that fund to make these incremental capital additions. And again, this is for the past. We're now in a process of looking to the future, 2020. So there may be a whole new set of criteria or level of service, or we don't know, and we shouldn't be critical about the goal or the playing fields. That's what somebody thought in 2010 when they set up these level of services. That's been supplanted probably by our 5-year plan. So don't be too critical about that. Why don't we have how many basketball courts? I like basketball. We need 5 basketball courts. So
we need quite a few more. Yeah. I think
Jared had a
wants
question,
to
I think.
Yeah.
This is actually one of the first things I wanted to talk about in planning for the future, since there is so much annexed land for development. There are actually models out there that use formulas for calculating land that has to be set aside for parkland whenever there's a new development. And I just wanted to float that idea out there to start gauging your opinion as far as what our land acquisition history and future is projected to be. And that could potentially serve as our ability to obtain acreage to keep up with the population in our metric for acreage per 1,000 capita. So I just wanted to run that by you. There are existing models where it's either park amenities that they pay for, or they set aside land for development, or they develop it themselves for park use.
Yeah, maybe Roger can comment. Obviously, there is I'm not sure if I can answer your question, Jared. In the level of services that she's passed out, there is parkland is one of those items where we have identified with the development community how much parkland we believe we should have for 10,000 residents. But Roger, I don't know, you got any more? Any other?
Yeah, so we've the Vonterra subdivision and their donation of parkland and paved rail trail to us was the first time. So developers who donate land or park improvements get a credit, so they don't have to pay the park impact fee, but they're providing land or parklands that are open to the public. And that's exactly what happened with Vonterra.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think they had to pay any park impact fees because they were providing 50 acres of parkland plus. And it does get kind of complicated because you have to have estimates of, and they substantiate the value of the park improvement they're turning over to us. But that we've been through all that with Vonterra, and that worked out pretty well.
I don't know of any county or state county or municipal ordinance that would set out or our planning department. I don't know of any ordinance that would say so much parkland per. But I may be wrong, Roger. You know anything in the planning world or in our ordinances?
Yeah, my impression of the acreage per population, it seems like we're always comparing ourselves to other communities, and we're always trying to be ahead of other communities when it comes to parkland in Zionsville, because we've always taken parks so seriously. And we've also been fortunate historically to have been the recipients of quite a few land donations. So I think that's another thing, that when we first adopted a park impact fee ordinance, we actually had to split out all the parkland that was donated, the parkland that was acquired. But it's all good in my mind, whether it's donated or acquired. But we certainly are always to obtaining more parkland, and it's very challenging, as we've seen recently. But you know, we're always receptive to donations or acquisitions, and we always try to do whatever we can to make those happen.
Roger, how often are these impact fees revisited or revised?
Every 5 years, they have to be
5 years.
redone every 5 years.
So, and another thing I learned is that, so the money you bring in from one ordinance, that money must be spent based off the guidelines of that ordinance. And so the money you currently have in our park impact fees need to be used based off of that document that we currently have. So when we revise and have a new ordinance, that new document cannot be used for the money we currently have. So we will have to create a separate park impact fee fund until your original park impact fees are used up and gone. So again, that's why I created this document, so you guys can start to look at that. Since we do have so many different capital projects going on, to try to figure out where can we use our impact fees. We are not limited on our impact fees, so let's see if we can, how fast we can use them up. But there are potentials there for, I know, things that have been discussed, not just within the board, but within the town, as far as, you know, community center is one that's come up. Maintenance facility is one that came up last year through our bond. So there is potential there to utilize those impact fees and really use a large chunk of them for projects that would be a benefit to us as well as to the town. So that's why I created this for you guys.
And so what do you go ahead? Oh, go ahead, John.
Well, I was
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
with a lot of stuff, you know, with the union up here, you know, with the neighborhoods going, all that stuff, all the money is being through the houses. There's no, the developments aren't doing anything to help with land out here, right? It's like the new development that's going in by south of the airport. So that's just, there's no parks or anything foresight up there, right? Up here.
I think the property that by the airport will be the Cato property. So that will be a future potential. But I don't know of any other current potentials that we've had. I mean, there's always that potential that someone would come around and say, we would like to donate land instead of park impact fee. I mean, that's what Vonterra,
Right.
and we've got that as a model that we can utilize if that's the route that we wanted to got the, you know, the park board and the department wanted to go. So,
But John, look at under the 5-year plan for the Cato property. So
yes.
that is linked to a development up there on the south side of the airport.
Okay.
Wayne Bivens, did you have a
Yeah,
question?
do these monies revert?
We are finding that one out. I don't know if Roger knows. I know Tammy and I have a meeting with Matt from Baker Tilly, I believe next Monday. And that's one of our questions to ask is what happens when our inventory level goes beyond what and there's basically, we can't use any of the money. What happens to that money then? Just as a what if. We hope we don't get to that point. Like I said, that was the whole thing of like pointing out, this is how we can use it. Let's sit down and actually start putting our park impact fees to work. But that is always a possibility. And so we will be asking that question.
Yeah, you got to spend money to get up to par, and then you unlock your park impact fee funds.
Yes.
And we're at that point now.
Our park impact fees are unlocked for a lot of things, but yes, if we don't use them for these capital projects, then we will have lost that ability to use them. So that's the thing. Yep.
Use them or lose them. What do you need from us, Mindy?
Well, just when we get to the dog park, that'll be one thing to ask that you approval of using park impact fees where we can on those. And then, yeah, just as we progress into some of these larger capital projects, the ones that I noted for potential use, that we definitely keep that on the radar. And as we move into other capital ideas like a community center, that we keep this on our kind of our back burner of, don't forget, we've got park impact fees that we can utilize. So, yeah.
Can I, just to clarify really quickly, if we're below the deficit mark, we're not allowed to use the park impact fees to reach that number? Or can we use it to hit that?
You have to use your own money to reach for that deficit, and then afterwards, as long as the 2020 target inventory is higher, you can use park impact fees to reach that high level.
Okay,
so that's why I took the dog park for an example. We have to use 81% of our own money to reach that, but then because the park impact fee or the target inventory is over 1, we can get up to 1. So that's the 19% that could come out of park impact fee. 81% has to come from us. So that's kind of how that works. Yeah.
There's an easy way to remember that, which is the basis, one of the theories behind impact fees, which is that you can't use the impact fees from new residents to pay for existing deficiencies.
Yeah.
So that's an easy way to remember that concept.
How creative are we allowed to get? I see, like, for example, a community building with a maintenance facility. Can you combine park impact fee groups, or is that not feasible?
I would say if it was a community center and a maintenance facility in the same area, then the biggest one is if you could break out to show what those two costs are separately then that would be the big one.
Okay.
So that would be the biggest thing, is if that you can substantiate, you can show the breakout of it truly costs this much for the maintenance facility, this much for the community center, even if they're on the same park land area. If you can somehow show that clear break, then yes, you could. That would be the hard thing. So, like, for example, we are doing sun shelters at the dog park. Well, you can, it's pretty easy to say, this is what it costs for a sun shelter. This is what it costs for the remainder of the park itself. So, because that's a kind of a standalone thing.
Okay, any more questions or discussion on park impact fees? If not, Mindy, I think you've got the next item, the splash pad.
I'm just
closing
gonna
date.
slap through them pretty quick here. So
Okay.
on the agenda, so splash pad, for those that may not know, currently our splash pad is normally Memorial through Labor Day. Because of the state closing levels, because of COVID, we did not open our splash pad until July 4th. Actually, after July 4th because of the fireworks. So currently our splash pad is still open. I was going to recommend and wanted to get the board's okay, if that sounds good, to keep the splash pad open to kind of, because we shortened the time frame through the end of September. So through the last weekend of September. So our closing date for the splash pad would then be Monday, September 28th. That I know a lot of HOA pools have done the same thing to give a little extra time for the families that are utilizing those facilities. Typically, we still have very nice warm days throughout September, so we don't feel that it would be an issue. And then that means that in October, we'll get scheduled for winterization. So
Is there any objection from any members in extending the
Are people
Closing
still out
date.
there using it, Mindy?
People are still using it and people are still calling us asking if it's open. So I think if we can put out there on Facebook, it's open at the last day, the day it closes will be Monday, September 28th. It kind of clears everything up.
Sounds good.
All right, go for it. I don't think we need a formal motion on that, Mindy.
We'll make sure I'm not stepping on
Nope.
anyone's toes. Okay.
No one objects.
Next thing on the agenda was actually with the Nature Center. So we are trying to figure out ways of getting back into the schools since in-person programming is out. So as you know, we started doing our Facebook Live virtual programs pretty much once COVID hit and we shut down. So back in March, we started that one. And they've been going very well. So you should have two documents in front of you. One is a flyer that Holly through the town put together for us of the different options. So virtual field trip, discover your schoolyard, join us in the parks. And then what we currently have are the rent a teacher trunks that we started a couple years ago. But the newest one is actually those virtual field trips. So we had some discussion with the schools as far as what platforms what they use, what the teachers would be interested in. And then we actually had the opportunity for Rachel, my part-time naturalist, to go into the classroom virtually for actually her son's class. She reached out to his teacher and asked if we could pilot a program just to kind of work out, did it work for the teacher? How did the kids react to it? You know, were we able to do it through the Nature Center without too many issues and kind of give it that kind of go for? So she actually put together a 30-minute program on life cycles and adaptations for her son's class. And they loved it. She's gotten great feedback from the teacher. She sent them out kind of a pre or a post assessment of what worked, what didn't work. And we've actually since then, because the teachers are looking for new and novel things, have received several emails and phone calls from other Zionsville teachers asking if we can come into their classroom. So that is what I am presenting to you guys, is a proposal to within our fee structure, and you'll see that on the second, it has a picture of actually Rachel in the classroom, is adding in, really the only change in there is adding that virtual field trip. Rachel did a lot of research, and surprisingly, and actually very surprisingly, there are really not too many organizations right now doing virtual school programs. We kind of came up blank where you know, a lot of the zoos, a lot of the larger nature centers, they're just not doing it. They're losing an opportunity. And so we want to take advantage of that opportunity for the Zionsville community as well as the surrounding areas. This is a potential, since it's virtual, of reaching out into the Lebanon school system, Western Boone, as well as even into the others. So it's really kind of spreading the programming potential of our community and our parks department. So you'll see there under the virtual field trip, our recommendation for fees, just because a virtual trip is a little easier for us. We're not packing anything up. We're not having to drag animals out there. It's not adding stress to the animals. Really not a whole lot extra as far as planning goes on our part. That we are looking for a 30 to 45 minute program, that our fee would be $25. And then if they wanted to do a 45 to 90 minute program, that fee would then jump to $40. Of course, as the board, you can always, we put on there a note, you know, you can decide if you wanted to do a bulk discount or adjust those as you feel that you need to. But that is kind of the recommendation based off of what our current fees are. And you'll see that the Discover Your Schoolyard is the same cost as what our current school outreach programs are. So when we go into the school, we normally charge 50 a day, 50 per program, 40 for the second program. So this would be actually at the school, but outside versus inside for Discover Your Schoolyard. And then the on-site programming. So other than this, you know, so instead of the students actually coming into the nature center, which we are not doing in-person programming in the facility because of its size, they would be joining us at a location in the parks. So it could be Starkey Park, it could be, Mulberry Fields. And those are the costs that we currently charge for in-person programming for schools and scouts. And then teacher trunks have been going, and that's the current. So really the only change is that virtual field trip is that addition.
That's what I was going to ask as a scoutmaster, is this available to the scouts? Because, I had no idea that even this was, unless this is brand new, I think it's a
No, we've been around. Yeah, no. So the thought of this one is that this would be open to any organization. So we're talking schools, scouts, homeschool groups, senior centers. Since we can't go into any of the senior complexes, which from past, I've been in Hoosier Village quite a bit. We cannot do that currently, so we could offer that virtual option to them for their residents.
Are these or is it a canned?
Sorry?
Are they tailored or a canned assignment?
We kind of do a mix. So for our school curriculum, we kind of have a set, but of course, if a teacher says, hey, we're really trying to work on this, we'll tailor. Scouts, we usually will tailor to whatever badges or activities they're working towards. So yeah, we don't have anything super canned.
In the past, so.
Hey, Mindy, 2 questions. One, are these flyers out to schools and whatnot yet?
They are not. We were waiting to get approval on the fee structure from the board before we actually sent them out.
Okay. And then secondly, how are teachers paying for this? Do they normally have to go to the school leadership to get this, or do they have, classroom funds? I don't know.
Right. So in the past, most of the Zionsville teachers would actually reach out to their PTOs or the Education Foundation. That's normally how they would fund these, and they fund them pretty regularly. I mean, we've gone to school programs in the schools or even to the nature center. It's a pretty common occurrence, but yeah, majority would either their PTO or, like I said, the Education Foundation. And right now the schools are doing, no field trips, no, coming in of any speakers. So the ability to pay won't be any issues as far as with, at least for Zionsville schools. But I would assume it would be similar for others, that this gives them an opportunity to do something different than what they normally are doing from day to day.
Okay.
Mindy, do we charge the same fee for out of town? Say you take a program to West Boone. Is that the same fee?
Well, this is actually a good thing for virtual, because currently we do not do any outreach programs outside of Zionsville.
Oh, okay.
So schools would have to come to us, and their fee per child is a little higher. I think it's $1 difference. But we don't do any outreach to any of the surrounding communities. So having this virtual, and that's to say, we tried to develop it so that it is something that even post-COVID, we could use it as an option to reach out to. We've been approached several times. I have by Lebanon school system for, they do not have money for busing, and we are unable to go visit them. So that's this would be an option that we could provide to them, that we would not be leaving Zionsville and they wouldn't have to try to figure out how to get to us.
Would we be able to handle the demand? If
we get our 2021 budget to be approved, we'll have some additional program staff. So I think we can. We'll see how it goes.
And you would do the outdoor offerings outside of Zionsville or not?
The outside, no. So they would either be at one of our Zionsville schools, or we do like the churches. I've gone out to some of the preschools at the churches. So it would be within Zionsville, or would be at one of the Zionsville parks. So yeah, we would be remaining in Zionsville for those.
Any more questions on Mindy's?
Our chunks travel. Our chunks have been to Carmel and Brownsburg and everywhere.
Yeah, good point. Any other questions for Mindy's proposed fee structure for the virtual outdoor offerings that have been sent to you? If not, is there a motion to approve the proposed fee structure as submitted to the board?
I move to submit, to approve as submitted.
I'll
Is there a
second that.
second to Member Pack's motion?
I'll second that.
John Stairs seconds it. Any further questions or discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call
Yeah,
vote.
the only thing I would say is, as I'm thinking about this here, is that, the potential way to market this to private schools too, both in Zionsville and outside of Zionsville, not just necessarily the public school districts.
We definitely will.
Yeah, I think it's a great
I'm sure you will.
timing. So I think it's a great idea. Fits the times perfect. All right, let's do a roll call vote on the motion to approve the fee schedule. John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Wayne Bivens,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Stair,
Aye.
John Solovich.
Aye.
I also vote aye, so the motion to approve the fee structure is unanimously approved. All right, next item, Mindy, is the Spooky Sprint event application.
Yes, so we got an application for a run within Zionsville. The date for that run is November 1st. It would be in the morning, so they'd set up about 5:30 and they would be done by noon. That is being led by Bodies Race Company. The reason it is in front of you guys is that besides by the high school, they are utilizing the rail trail and the rail trail only. Their projection is, I'm looking at this sheet, everything is online now, so I had to like cut and paste this in for you. Where is anticipated attendance is somehow not on here. I believe it was 150. I did reach out to Lauren, who is the owner of the race director. They do have a charity, Mission 22, that they'll be raising some funds for, but again, it's still a for-profit. So if you did approve this run, they would still charge the for-profit, the $100 for this one. They will have a few signs set up along the rail trail by their volunteers, but they've said that they will put those up and take them down as quickly as possible. So she did talk about revising the trail route, but she did not, as of today, get me that new run map. So you are basing everything off of, and your approval would be based off of the map that we currently have in place with you. So.
Okay, so they'd go down to end up in Jennings Field, going around the.
Yeah, they'd start at the high school, come in at Jennings Field, run all the way up past by the Methodist Church, and then run back.
Oh,
is
it's an
the
out
route.
back. Got it.
Back,
Got it.
Yes, down and back.
Okay, again, for profits, this has been difficult. We've been evolving our process over the years. And, we always say to the superintendent, hey, you take it. If it's a not-for-profit, you have discretion to decide, whether it's whether they're taking care of our parks and not going to interfere with citizenry use of our parks. For profits, again, you got to be careful. There are not-for-profits who are more greedy than the for-profits, especially a for-profit with a charitable a charitable cause involved. But we do say for caution that to the superintendent that, hey, if it's a for-profit, why don't you run it by the board? So here we are. And this is very typical. It's a Saturday morning, pretty early in the morning. It's later in the year. We know the rail trails be getting used more and more and more. Whether that'll still be the case on November 1st remains to be seen. Questions, comments?
They said that would be like live band and such. Where is that, at the high school? Where is that set up at?
I would assume it is at the high school. They're doing amplified music. I think it would be a little challenging along the trail. So
I didn't
that's my assumption. She did not get back to me at the exact location of the music.
How many did she anticipate would show?
The actual, it was at 150 was the number. Like I said, everything is online now, so I had to sit and cut and paste, and unfortunately that did not get pasted in where it should have been.
Do we have any concerns as far as like with COVID and that number? Do we have to watch that ourselves? Is that up to them?
That would be entirely up to them as far as following COVID procedures and precautions. I believe right now the Boone County Health is anything under 250. It is okay as long as they follow the distancing and masks, and anything over needs approval from Boone County Health.
Do you know if the town permit process flags that as an issue these days?
It's a question that they have on the online form now.
Okay, they've added that. Okay.
Yes.
For COVID, great. All right, is anybody want to make a motion to approve or deny?
In the past, I feel like our past for-profit races haven't been exclusively or almost exclusively on the trails. Haven't they utilized some city streets?
They have. There's one coming up, trying to think, in 2 weeks in September. That was originally going to be in April. You did approve it last year. Because of COVID, they postponed it till the fall. And it is only using a section of the rail trail by Carter Station. The rest of it is on the actual road itself. So yeah, so a lot of the ones that you've approved in the past have been just small sections of the rail trail. This one is, this is pretty much entirely the rail trail. They're utilizing the high school as more of a parking spot than anything else.
So Mindy, in early October, the Zionsville Optimists have hit the bricks. Doesn't that go on the rail trail for a bit?
I think there's a little portion of it, yes.
Yeah, so.
Don't a lot of these have a larger number of participants, don't they, when they get out on the road? More than 150 people.
Yeah, Hit the Bricks would. That one's been around a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, 150 is not very big.
It's not a very big one. Of course, if they all go down the trail at the same time, why they're.
Yeah. Well, I don't, and again, we can, I'll go ahead and move that we approve this.
I second.
Member Solovich seconds the motion to approve the submittal. Any more discussion or questions? All right, let's do our vote then. Wallenberg,
Aye.
Bivens,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Stair.
I'm just uncomfortable with it being a for-profit entity. I'm gonna say no.
Okay, John Stair says no. John Solovich.
Aye.
I also vote aye, so the motion passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Next, okay, we go into old business here, and
We're
let's
getting there.
move to the budget update. And Mindy, tell us when you want to do golf. You want to do that first or second?
Let's hit the park first, just because it's really just for you guys to look over. This is what will be going to town council for their discussion, which is set for, I believe, the 16th, to discuss all the departments' budgets. And so it's kind of the first go round. So this could definitely, after that meeting, look a lot different than what is currently there. But you can see as you go through it, towards the bottom are your capitals. And so you currently have, besides the Starkey Avenue Bridge, which will probably be coming from bond or some other way, you have all of your top A priorities of Heritage Trail Park Phase 2, the tennis courts resurfacing, The Laurel Avenue shelter is currently there, but we can always take park impact fees for that one. Holiday Nature Park, I will be, if you approve the park, the dog park, we'll probably be pulling the dog park budget off of this because we should be able to complete that by the end of this year. Carter Station, the Elm Street Green Eagle Creek Access, which would be your canoe launch, which again is another park impact fee potential. The Elm Street Green Connector, and that would have to deal with the Hinka line and any easements that we get through those. Starkey Nature Park Stairs, Turkey Foot Bridge repair if it's not completed this year, and then your earmark for the Nature Center, keeping that in the mix. So as long as no one sees any issues of something that is missing or something that looks completely wrong based on the last time we talked about it, then we can move on to golf.
And I take it that you might see, let's say if you had identified $200,000 of park impact fee fund that could be used to finance it, that Tammy or somebody in the town might say, okay, let's reduce your budget, your capital budgets by $200,000.
It would be more of removing projects. Yeah. So like I said, if we
Well,
said,
those-
hey, yeah, Laurel Avenue, we could use park impact fees for, then they would probably just, we remove Laurel Avenue off of this one and use park impact fees for that.
Although that might be difficult because park impact fees only pay for a part, sometimes it's not, it's all, it's 19% of the sun shelter. So I don't, just be careful there.
It is. Well, if we use them on Overly Warman's 2 shelters, you can completely fund Laurel Avenue with park impact fees. So it's how you use them. So there is that potential for Laurel, but yes, there is potential. We won't be bringing, I don't think the town council wants my discussion on park impact fees. We can save that for another day. But there is that potential that if this does get cut, which potentially it will be whittled down by the town council, we do have that option that some of these projects could still happen because of the park impact fees that we have. So that's something to keep in mind. So
I gave Josh Garrett a high-level briefing of our proposed budget and capital projects. Again, I think there's more uncertainty this year than not because on the town revenue side, there's COVID. And as well, we have a new mayor and CFO who have a new budgeting system. So as they grow the budget and consolidate it and put it together before they, give it to the town council, it's just a different system, how it's being compiled. So we don't know what town council may receive or how they might react. Less so than in most years, I guess is the way to put that. All right, on to golf.
on to golf. All right, so in your pack would then the second one would be the golf budget for 2021, as well as a breakdown on Zionsville Golf Course, actually the club car proposals. So you will see within the 2021 budget, based off the revenue that we've pulled in for this year, we have added in a potential for a golf cart lease. So that lease amount is, we'll get into those, is factored into that amount that you see, as well as actually 100,000 towards golf cart path replacement. So that is a substantial amount of capital that could be used for the first portion of our replacing of our paths, which are needed seriously. So that amount, we worked with Tammy, CFO, pretty strongly on that, Mike and I. It's not a huge increase from last year's budget, and it's well within the range of what the revenue is being brought in for this year to cover that. So we don't feel that the town council will have too many issues with what we will be presenting as far as with the golf course itself, because it's well within the operating range for it. As far as the board, we do need your input on leasing. So Mike did reach out to Midwest Golf and Turf. Their rep is actually a Zionsville resident and received 2 proposals. So this breakdown was done by Tammy, which is really nice because it kind of shows you the different options. Proposal number 1 would be a full out lease of 30 golf carts or 30 golf carts and 2 utility vehicles. So these would be similar to like our Kubota that we have for the parks, where they would have the bed that the golf they could utilize to move materials around, maintenance, things of that sort for golf course. You can see the one is just using getting a trade in, and the amount of trade in that we're getting would be about a little over $64,000 to trade in our current 2008 carts. So getting that cash in hand and then basically paying a lease amount for 5 years, or actually getting that trade in and taking that $64,000 and investing it into the lease, which would drop that lease cost down substantially. You can see there for so if we do the 30 club cars with 2 utility vehicles, our yearly would go from $18,000 a year in lease to $4,700 a year in lease if we didn't take the trade-in money but put it back into the lease. And then you see far down, the last one would be net cost per cart. So basically what the cost is per cart for that term of that lease, which for the 30 plus 2, each cart would cost basically $747, for the 32 carts. The second proposal was actually leasing to own. So then at the end of that would be a balloon payment, but then we would own the carts. I did talk with Mike. The reason he looked at Club Car was that it's pretty very well known. He reached out some other golf area, and I'm not a golfer, so other golf courses to find out what they were using. So Club Car is currently used at Crooked Stick. Actually, Golf Club of Indiana just transferred to Club Car. Prairie View's been using them for years. So it's a very well-known vehicle cart, and Mike really did like them. The maintenance for the vehicles while they're under the lease would either be at the golf the golf course itself or at Westfield, so not a far drive to get to maintenance for those vehicles. I asked him out of the proposals which one he felt would be the best, working within our budget, as well as working the best for the course itself. And his was the 30 club cars plus the 2 utility vehicles, again, so for that they can utilize for maintenance at the golf course itself. So that would look at, if we did the trade-in, which would be well within our budget to do it, you're looking at each year $4,782, which you can see that we actually put $5,000 in the budget for the golf course to cover that lease. And so you're looking for 5 years, that's a little less than $24,000. And then at the end of that 5 years, we could then decide if we wanted to, you've had 5 years of new carts, you can decide if we wanted to continue a lease, if we wanted to go outright and purchase, or what might be an option. So it's not tying us into anything super long term, but it's giving us new carts for 5 years. And that's freeing up that then we can also then use any revenue towards capital projects like the cart paths. And that's why that, that $5,000 per year lease was kind of it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. We're getting new carts, and we're also then making sure we're not tying up a lot of money that we can then use towards capital improvements for the golf course. So. But if Tim wants, we can, would you like Pete to
Maybe
talk?
that includes the offsite storage, right?
That does not.
It
So
does not.
that does not, we're actually going to charge additional for storage. So we would be having to store ourselves. which there are some potentials, not just at the golf course, but also at the landscape company up on 875. The storage barns are still there as well as a potential. We've already talked with Lance a little bit about that one as well. So yeah, we would have to store them ourselves.
Yeah, the nice thing on the lease that I like is it makes our budget, again, I want to see us have a operational goal for the golf course. And I think, yeah, we have a chance to have a record year of revenues over 2012, over the 304,000 or so we achieved then. So if you have all of your basics in an operational expense line, then we can say to the golf course, hey, you should be achieving 120% or 100, whatever, of your operational expenses. And now you can see this. We're going to have about $300,000 of revenue. Our expenses, I think, are going to be around $200,000. We've not done anything for capital this year, basically. And okay, that's great. We're going to have 100. I don't know. We'll hear. We're going to have a nice profit this year, but yeah. And when you look at the profit or the budget for 2021, you can see it's about a $250,000 expense, operational expense budget, with another $100,000 for capital for the cart paths. And yeah, we have a fund. It's going to get flooded. It's been a little smaller, gotten smaller and smaller each year, but this year it should have a good year. So it just kind of starts to rationalize how we look at the golf course. So that's how I'd like us to look at it in the future. What are we? Revenues always have to exceed operational expenses. Let's make it simple and have the golf club cars involved, $5,000 a year for make that an operational expense, because you should be covering that every year. That's a fair, easy way to do that. We're not sophisticated enough to do capital. Again, we thought we were saving for club cars, and last year we realized we were not. Nobody was putting it in any fund for us. So, all right, enough. Pete Proust, are you out there?
He is. I just promoted him, and I'm going to promote Dave too.
Pete is, he's been to many of our meetings. He lives by the golf course. His son is a big golfer. Pete is a part-time employee of ours and has done lots and lots working with Mike in the last couple of years. And so he may have some tidbits for us.
Yeah.
Pete?
Pete, do you want me to share those pictures?
Yeah, just hang on. We'll get there. I want to thank you for putting the slides in there. Tim, thanks for allowing me to be on part-time. If you consider the last 7 days, 57 hours part-time, that's a great part-time job. Want to thank Dave too. Dave came out today as soon as Mike called him. I worked till late last night trying to get the pump going. Couldn't do it. He came out today, was very helpful. So we'll work with them. I think tonight that crew's coming out. So I'll work with them tonight, and Friday, hopefully, be able to shut down and get things fixed. I wanted to share just an idea or an example of the culture that Mike has put here at the golf course. Tonight we had 4 middle school girls golf teams here to play. We're very strong with the schools. We do all the middle school golf here. One of the buses got hit, broke the window in the door, and immediately the two, Claire and Gabby, got with the coach immediately. They called Charlie and I, and Claire cleaned the bus window up, cleaned all the glass, vacuumed it off the seat, everything. In years past, it would have been, hey, it's all yours. Now Lafayette Jefferson's going to walk away from this. Yeah, my bus window got busted, but you know what? That thing was cleaned up by those people. We didn't ask them. That's the culture Mike has put at this golf course. So that's the change fundamentally that's been, ongoing for the last year and a half and is really taking foot. So the golf carts, I wanted to say that we we turn the golf carts twice a day. So at 30 carts, that's $600 a day. So our yearly lease at 4,700 and change, we pay for in 8 days. So in 8 days, we can pay a yearly lease with the turns that we have in our golf carts. So that's a pretty good, that doesn't take too long to make sense of the golf carts. Everybody understand that? We turn the carts, $10 per cart, turn them twice a day, 60, 600. So that's good. The sales that we talked about, we right now to date are at 264,325, second highest total behind 2009, which we got 40,000 to go. Hopefully we can get there. And that's with probably 2 months less in sales. And I know a lot of people have talked about, boy, it's all because of COVID. You know, COVID is what, you know, and yes, COVID has helped us. Across the country, nationally, golf courses are up between 25 and 30% this year. So there's been a huge push for COVID. We're up 66% this year. So it's not all COVID. We've done a lot here to make the experience better. We hear it every single day. Last week, Monday and Thursday evenings, we had 50 people here for the St. Al's League and the Men's League for dinner after their shotgun starts. And the praise for Mike and what he's done to this golf course, the culture that he's put here, unbelievable. I mean, just hearing things, people have been here for 20, 25 years playing golf, have never seen the golf course or the staff the way it is now. So really heading in the right direction there. I think that, you know, I think we will break the 09 record. So we are really excited about, you know, being able to do that and get to that point. Roger said something earlier, you know, taking our parks seriously. And, you know, I've talked to a couple of you individually about how passionate I am about the golf course. And I know that the past superintendent, you know, in his 4-year plans is we are not in the golf course business. And I've talked to, you know, to a couple of you about, you know, yeah, we are in the golf course business. And we have in Mike Wall, somebody who knows how to run a golf course. Mike has run some of the best golf courses in the country. Olympia Fields that just had the PGA BMW, he ran that. Castle Rock in Colorado, he opened Coppin up in the Purdue course up there. He knows what he's doing. Zionsville Golf Course has never had that before. We can't lose this. So, and we know what we have to do with our, you know, with our part-time employee status there. So I won't talk any more about that. But when we talk about being serious about our, you know, our parks, you look at Brookshire in Carmel, Fox Prairie, Forest Park in Noblesville. You know, you go in those places, they have a nice clubhouse. You know, they're proud to be part of Carmel. They're proud to be part of Noblesville. And we want to be proud to be part of Zionsville. And we really feel that in the past, we've kind of been overlooked and, you know, put on the back burner. And Mindy, if you would show the slides, that would be awesome. These are some of the things that we've talked about in the past. I know Mike has mentioned to the board. You know, I have talked to a few of you, but I thought that if we put them in pictures, maybe we could really see. You know, when we think about Zionsville, we think about the town hall there, how beautiful the structure is, how, you know, most of our town buildings are something to be proud of. The picture on the right, on the bottom right there, is our clubhouse with busted out windows and the air conditioners falling out. If you go up there, you have to be very careful of the rat and mouse droppings because you'll step in them as soon as you walk in the door. On the left there is where we store our carts, and that's back by Pittman's house there, by 6 tee box. And you know, we had all the problems with our carts because the rats eat the seats, and there's really no way to keep them out. That's really an eyesore out there. But you can see those just, you know, the top picture is beautiful. That's what people think of in Zionsville. The bottom two, You know, if you ask somebody, where do you think those buildings are in Zionsville? They would say, no way. Well, they are. So next slide. Our paths, and Mindy commented that, you know, we do need our paths. There's a picture of the rail trail there on the left. Some of the potholes there on the second one. The third one is over our creek. I got a phone call one day, one afternoon. It said someone is about to fall in the creek, and we went outside, jumped in the golf cart, ran down there, and a man and his son were teetering on the culvert there with a 5-foot drop into the creek. We managed to get them out of the cart, pull the cart off so it didn't fall. Nobody was hurt, but it's something that if that were in downtown Zionsville or on the rail trail, that would never happen. To the right, you can kind of see, you know, there used to be a blacktop path there, but as it deteriorated, you can see how people continue to go wider and wider on the path. You know, the grass can't grow back, just a real issue. So the paths, I'm really excited about taking a step forward there. You know, I've always thought that, boy, we have such beautiful trails, and I know this is simplifying everything, but you know, why can't some of those guys, when they're putting a trail in, why can't they just come over to the golf course and do that? Boy, would that be easy. So next slide. This is our drainage, and Lance was out. We had the mayor out about a little over a month ago, and she was, you know, very excited to see what our thoughts were moving forward. She was kind of appalled by what was actually there. But from a drainage standpoint, that drainage ditch is behind City Hall on the right there. And, you know, it's a retention pond that, as the water builds up, the concrete structure in the back there takes, and I'm not sure, but probably pumps the water then to a location to get rid of it. If you look at the picture on the left, that's at the bottom of 9, side of 4. Whenever it rains, that fills up. It fills up the 4th fairway, fills up the 9th fairway, and then you can see the hose. The hose runs across just in front of the green, across 4 fairway, over to 5 fairway, to the corner where there's another big hole that we then have to pump the water from there to the creek. Now this one here that you see in the picture, that holds about maybe an hour and 15 minutes worth of gas. So when we get a good rain, I'm usually out there every hour until midnight, filling up the gas so we can get the water off the golf course so golfers can play the next day. We also usually get calls from the neighbors that say, you know, boy, that pump is loud. You have to run that all night long. We only run it for as long as I can stay awake. So there is a few hours that it doesn't run. So from a, you know, when Lance was talking, he said he was going to send out some engineers, that we could put a retention pond that would be easy enough to send the water like you have at the, you know, behind town hall there, where it would go to one spot there on 5, then from 5 over to the creek. That was a month ago. You know, haven't heard anything since then. Don't know if there's been work behind the scenes or not. So, and then the last slide is just of our carts. And, you know, our carts are, we have about a flat tire a week now. There's some of them that are making some pretty funny noises. And boy, your timing couldn't be any better on approving the golf carts, because, you know, when I've had a number of people ask me, they say, you know, I heard you guys are thinking about new carts. You're going to sell the old ones. And I said, yeah. And I said, they're giving us $2,100 or $2,155 per cart. And they're like, oh, I was going to offer you some money, but man, I wouldn't offer you half that. So, I mean, I think we're getting a really nice deal for the golf carts. And, you know, that's something that's definitely needed. And we at the golf course really appreciate you doing that. You know, this morning I was here at 6:30 getting the carts ready for the penny putters, who is a huge group of women that come out here and have come out here for years and years and years. And, you know, you just see them look around. Which cart can I get into where, you know, it's not going to snag my, you know, my skirt, my pants, So just a real struggle with them on Wednesday mornings, but thank you for getting that moving, and we really appreciate that. So don't have anything else. Thank you so much for, letting me talk, and Mindy for showing the slides.
Well, Pete, thank you for coming and always being there in a pinch. I know your passion for parks and especially the golf course. So thank you for all of that. So I think we're in a great, you guys have done such a great job this year. So that certainly helps us navigate going forward. It makes it easier when you've having such a successful year. And it's not just the revenues, it's the kids tournament that's going to be new this recently, the Zionsville Open that's going to come around. So it's the number of citizens who are out there having fun, and gosh, what a blessing to have that place this year, especially. So
yeah, and one last thing, the junior league, which you mentioned, we had hoped to get 35 kids for the junior league. We had 70 when it signed up. Mike, since he's been here, has promoted kids golf. Prior to this, this was kind of like an old man's club, and they frowned on the kids, and they made it very clear. Now, like I said, we're hoping for 35, 70 came. I sit up on my deck on the 9th hole there, and I have never seen somebody hit the ball 25 yards, run, skip, and jump to the ball, and with a smile on their face like these kids. It's really something to see. So just great for the game of golf. So thank you.
all right, thanks. Mindy, on the lease, what would you like what do you need from us? It's in the
Right.
budget. So
Yes, it's in the budget. So as long as no one sees an issue with the budget that we've put together. As far as with the lease, would like for Mike's recommendation, and I agree with him. So we'd like to see if the board also agrees that we're going to go with, we would like to go with proposal number 1 for the 30 club cars plus 2 with utility beds, using the trade-in cash for the lease itself, so that our yearly costs for that 5-year lease would be $4,782.60. So what I'd like is the board to approve that, and then also approve that working with Tammy as well as with Roger to get a contract drafted up for, the thought would be that we would sign the contract at the end of this year's, they would take possession of the carts for trade-in, and then the beginning of spring, they would be delivering us our new carts for 2021 season. So working with Roger and again, Tammy, to make sure the numbers are correct and getting approval to sign that contract when it is ready to go.
What'd you say about the maintenance? Is that included?
The maintenance is included with the lease. We would just have to do the storage would be the only thing. So it
And
would
it-
still be stored on site.
Where's-
But we would not take possession of the lease would not start until next spring, yes. But we want to sign in now so that we, our new carts aren't delayed. So if we sign, now in the fall, then we're kind of first on the delivery for when they start sending those out in the spring.
If one has to be taken out, do they come get it, or we have to take it to them?
Some of the maintenance would be done here. It just depends on what it would be, or it'd have to go to Westfield. So it just depends on what the issue might be. But these are brand new 2021 vehicles. So hopefully those first couple of years, we'd have nothing really to do to them. So.
And one other note, the new carts get significantly better gas mileage than the ones we have now. I think it's 7-8 miles a gallon right now, and it'll be 35 miles a gallon with the new ones. I could be off on my numbers, but it's a
Somewhere around
significant
40. Yeah, the new ones are
significant
somewhere around 40.
difference. in the new
So our
carpets.
gas, so that's another thing that'll drop would be the gas costs from the golf course themselves. They won't need filled up as often, and we won't be going through as much gas. So there's a savings on that end too.
So Mindy is requesting that someone make a motion to work with her and Roger and town administration to implement a golf club car lease proposal similar to proposal 1 submitted to us with Midwest Golf and Turf. Is that the name of the company?
Yes.
Yep. Is there such a motion?
I would gladly make that motion. I think that's the deal of the century for the golf course. So I would move that we accept proposal number 1 with the golf course lease to take effect at the beginning of next season.
I will second that.
Member Stair makes the motion, seconded by Member Bivens. Any more discussion or questions? If not, let's do a roll call vote. Member Wallenberg.
Aye.
Bivens.
Aye.
Pack.
Aye.
Stair.
Aye.
Solovich.
Aye.
I also vote aye, so the motion unanimously carries.
Hey, Tim, can I add something?
Sure.
In light of Pete's comments and because it is in the budget concerning the golf course manager, I would obviously entertain discussion, but I'd like to make a motion that we promote or offer Mike Wall the position of full-time golf course manager to take
I'd
effect.
second that.
All right, so Member Wallenberg makes a motion to approach Mike Wall with a full-time job offer, seconded by Jill Pack. They're members of the golf subcommittee. Without getting into probably necessary details of two details on numbers, any questions or comments or discussion? Roger, how would we implement? You've got your hand up. Yeah, we may not even need a motion to do something like this, but certainly that would be our minimum.
So I assume this would be effective for next year? Or how? I wonder what the term is. I suppose if, my understanding is that Mike's kind of been covering, running the maintenance as well as the management of the golf course. I'm not sure whether his current salary or part-time payroll has been up to that standard, but I think you could leave it up to, we always rely on the mayor's office to handle personnel matters. So just like we've talked a couple times tonight about working with them on payroll and budgetary things, that could be determined by them. But I think you could certainly proceed with of the idea of creating that position as a full-time position, and then offering that position to Mike with the details to be worked out by staff.
All right, so Mindy would work with Tammy to, again, it could be effective sooner than year end, Roger.
Right.
We had it in our budget for this year, actually. Yeah, and it's the superintendent who works and hires and fires the subordinates under the superintendent. So Mindy as interim can work that out, and feel free to ask John or Jill or me for any confirmation of salary numbers or whatever you guys come up with. We'll take a look at that probably,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
that could
I
be
can
done informally.
reach around to Tammy and probably even Joe to make sure that we have everything that we need to.
Yeah, Mike does so many things off the clock, so yeah.
Okay.
Any
Work on that.
more discussion or questions on the motion? All right, the motion is to seek full-time employment for our part-time golf course manager. Let's do a roll call vote. John Wallenberg.
Aye.
Wayne Bivens. Wayne, are you there? Are you aye or yay or nay?
Aye. Yes.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Stair,
Aye.
John Salovich.
Aye.
I also vote aye, so unanimously carries. All right. Anything else on the golf course budget? Golf course paths are, that's the big item there. So,
We'll have the money, so
Yep.
we'll get on that one.
yep, our golf course fund will be Yeah, it'll be healthy. All right, let's move on then to, okay,
Tim's
Starkey.
favorite, Starkey Stairs. You said
Take
you
it
were gonna
away.
be quiet on this one, so.
Take it away, Mindy.
All right, so I had before you, I know 2 months ago, we had BF&S did a presentation on the alternatives for Sb3 stairs. For those, I believe everyone knows kind of the background of, we have our Sb1 stairs, which are kind of some people love, some people hate. We won't get into those. They're gonna stay the way they are. But then you get into the Sb3. We realize that Sb3, those stairs are in poor shape. Come the end of winter next year, they're going to be in rough shape again. So they really, as far as a safety standard, as far as a maintenance issue, they need to be addressed. And we were given some great alternatives. I had an opportunity to talk with BF&S and also talked with Dave as far as what we felt would be the most cost effective and efficient to get those stairs replaced, as well as to fit within the natural beauty of Starkey Park, whereas our metal stairs currently kind of stick out, and that's one reason why so many people dislike them. But then that would also be, and here's another one, that be safe and I guess well received by children and dogs, which our metal stairs currently are a little bit of a deterrent for them. So I actually pulled just for alternative number 3 from that report, which would be the stick built structure. This would be a solid wood structure, but we would actually look at any horizontal surface. So we're talking the treads, the railing itself, of utilizing the tangent recycled lumber that we've used in several other projects around the parks themselves. So I am making that recommendation that would be the stair that we look towards to replace Sb3, and just asking for if you have any questions for myself, and to ask for board approval that we can proceed at getting this stair drawn up. If it needs to be revised from the current drawings for the metal that was done for Sb3, and to possibly even get it out for bid and construction along with the Turkey Foot Bridge once that gets finalized. Yeah.
So you're asking for authority to put together
asking
with
that-
BF&S a design and construction document, sort of.
Yeah, revise any of the documents that need to be done, and then to get an estimate of what that cost would be, and to proceed for completion of those stairs. Yeah.
Do you have any idea what they charge for that?
I do not. I sent out an email asking them what we would need to do to proceed, and I did not hear back before this meeting. So I will wrap around to them as well. They do mention in their alternate that because the original drawings that were done for Sb3 were for metal, that there would be some additional footings and a few little structural changes if you went to the all wood, but they don't give a cost of what that difference might be for those changes.
Questions, comments?
I thought one of the things we were considering was putting in some switchbacks there that aren't a staircase at all, but just sort of a path that goes down to the base. Is that off the table?
It's not. It's, if you recall, when BF&S were here when they presented, is that they could not, based off what they had available to them, find an easy enough switchback for basically the amount of room you have to traverse back and forth. So there would be some additional, we decided to go that route of probably getting in some survey and GIS and some other materials. So it's always a potential to add in. But yeah, it was like, we need to do something about the Sb3 stairs. So it's either, close them off entirely and then make people have to do the metal, which we know is going to keep getting pushed back, or to do the natural option that should have, because it will be out in the meadow, it's going to get full sun. Already talked with Dave about keeping the vegetation away from it, so allow for air to move freely around that structure, and it should last for a very long time. It's not going to be in the shade like SP1 is, so you're not going to get the wet, you're not going to get the mold and the algae and things growing on it as you would out in the woods. It's right there under the power lines, so.
Do you have any comment on, user, they like stairs better or along traversing trail? Any user pluses or minuses that you can think of there?
I mean, people would do either, honestly, if they wanted to get up or down. I just think, if you're talking costs, your switchback is always a potential in the future, but I think your cost, when you start to engineer and get into, like I said, trying to do the survey work and figuring out what path it may go and what trees that might be in the way that then you have to remove, the costs are they're going to start to rise up. Whereas replacing a staircase with an additional staircase, it's still a cost, but it's right now they put in there the estimate be roughly around probably anywhere between 105 and give or take, if we have to do some extra drawings, probably 125,000 for that staircase itself, based on the BF&S estimate.
Really think it might be advantageous if we could look at having the stair treads at least be composite.
Yes, that would be our thought, would be that the treads and the railing we would use the recycled, the tangent material, and then the actual structure would be the pressure treated wood. Yeah, so anything horizontal we'd look at doing recycled just for maintenance.
Great. Any more questions? And if not, is somebody want to, again, Mindy would like a motion to go the next step with the engineers BF&S in developing a design, construction documents, and construction cost estimate for a stick built stair structure on Starkey Park Trail 3. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the park superintendent to pursue BF&S with the alternate 3 stick-built structure for the Starkey Stairs.
Member Wallenberg has made the motion. In a second. I'll second the motion. Any more discussion? All right, let's do a roll call vote on that. John Wallenberg.
Aye.
Wayne Bivens. What was that, Wayne?
Aye.
Aye for Wayne. Jill Peck.
Aye.
John Stair.
Aye.
John Salovich.
Aye.
Tim Cassidy votes aye as well, so the motion carries unanimously. All right, Mindy, thanks for that. And now we have a couple of, Trish McClellan is with us, and just a couple of housekeeping items. And Trish is here to give us background on this. So at our last meeting, we approved a couple of design contract modification on our Big 4 South Extension design contract with REA, and you authorized me to work with REA on including the replacement of the Starkey Avenue Bridge, which we approved last month. And Trish has presented an amendment to me. The amount's significant, so I didn't want to sign that without coming back to the board. So I think a $69,000 addition. Yeah, go ahead, Trish. Why don't you explain the proposal?
Yeah, 62,000.
62.
So the original contract we were just using the Starkey Avenue Bridge, and we discussed at the last meeting, doing a full replacement for the Starkey Avenue Bridge. So the amendment would cover the design of that bridge and the structure, and then, any grading that would be done along with it. The trail itself, is already a part of the plans. So we would just be rolling the new bridge structure into those plans. The current height on that bridge is 13 feet, and the new bridge, it would be 17 feet. So we're getting more height, but then also more width. The current width is about 27.5 feet. And right now, for concept, we're looking at two different options. One that would have an opening that's 38 feet wide, and one that would have an opening that's 52 feet wide. And see where those fall in the budget. We're actually talking with one of the manufacturers of the prefab bridges to give us some numbers on each of those options. If we can afford it in our budget, the 52-foot would allow us to have in the future trails on Starkey Avenue. So underneath our big four, we would have a trail on each side of Starkey Avenue. If that doesn't fall in the budget, then the 38-foot width lets us have a trail on the north side. So just one side going underneath the big four trail along Starkey Avenue. So that's the contract amendment is for survey. We had just surveyed the top of the bridge since we weren't going to be doing anything underneath of it. So we need to get some additional, information. It includes geotech for the new bridge. Anytime we have a new bridge, we want to be sure we have the geotechnical study to go along with that. And again, the bridge and structure design for that.
All right, and Mindy and I have met with Lance along with Roger. So Lance has been, the mayor requested that we work very, very closely. Trish worked very closely with Lance as well. So he's all on board and has been very helpful with us in terms of moving forward with this. Okay, so any questions about that amendment to our design construction document contract with REA as proposed?
So this is actually going to remove the big concrete abutments on each side.
Yes. So it'll
Okay,
be brand new abutments,
brand new.
brand new bridge, the substructure and the superstructure, all brand new. Yeah. So that gets you, I think, what do we say, about 60 years should be the lifespan for that new bridge.
I think that's a great proposal. I think it looks nice and quaint the way it is, but it also looks like, a number of people have hit the side of it too because it's so narrow. I think improving that condition there would be a great outcome.
Right. Is there a motion? I move that we amend the contract as proposed, the design contract for the south extension as proposed by REA as submitted to you tonight. So it's ready to sign, and ask to either me or Mindy be authorized to sign that agreement.
I second that motion.
Any more discussion? All right. Let's do a roll call vote. Wallenberg,
Aye.
Bivens,
Aye.
Pack,
Aye.
Dare,
Aye.
Solovich.
Aye.
I also vote aye, so the motion unanimously carries to go forward with signing that proposed amendment. Thank you, Trish. And the next item that we dealt with in our last meeting was phase 2 of Heritage Trail Park. And there you had authorized me to pursue with REA a design and construction document contract. And they have done so and have proposed it, and we've submitted it to you. So yeah, Trish, you want to give us a briefing on Heritage Trail Park Phase 2 and the services that you're going to provide us?
Yeah, the contract would include construction documents for that phase 2. And just to remind you, that's additional parking, about 26 additional spaces, an additional playground for the older age group. So we've got the younger age group. It would complement that with the older age group on the other side of the sidewalk. It also includes a sidewalk along 875 East and then a trail connection that would go from about where the bocce court is up to, is that 400 South, north up to the road along the edge of the property. So that would include the construction documents and sending it out to bid. And the schedule would be to, if everything, works out, to have that out to bid this year. So that's what the contract in front of you is for. Tim and I had talked about just briefly, something maybe for you all to consider. The Big Four Trail, as you know, ends there at Heritage Trail Park. So the north extension will start there at the end of the park and go up, north to connect with where Whitestown will actually end their trail. So it would, connect those two links and also finish the Big Four for Zionsville. There might be some cost savings with the Heritage Trail Phase 2 with the parking lot. That's just a fairly small pavement project. If you rolled it in with the north extension, you might see some cost savings in the parking. I'm not sure about timing and schedule. That would be the other thing to consider, because I believe, Roger, you can correct me, there's potentially two properties that we might need to make that north extension. One of them we might be able to get around by using school property, but then I think there's also another one along 400 that we would still need to make that full connection. So anyway, just something to consider, that if you wanted to roll that into the Heritage Trail Phase 2, you might see some cost savings there.
Okay, so Roger and I will pursue that with you this month, Tricia, about the possibility of adding that to this proposed contract. But as far as the $39,600 service contract proposed by REA for doing design, development, and construction drawings for Heritage Trail Park Phase 2, are there any more questions? And if not, is there a motion to approve the proposal and authorize the president or superintendent to sign? I don't know, Roger, have you reviewed this one?
Yes, I looked at that some time ago. It looked fine.
All right, so is there a motion to approve and sign the proposal?
So moved.
Member Pack makes the motion, a second.
Second.
Member Wallenberg seconds the motion to approve the proposed Phase 2 design development contract. Any more discussion? Roll call vote. Wallenberg.
Aye.
Bivens.
Aye.
Pack.
Aye.
Dare.
Aye.
Salovich.
Aye.
I also vote aye, so the motion is approved. All right, on to the dog park.
The last
All right,
thing on our agenda.
Yeah, let me turn it over to you.
All right, so this would have been, unfortunately, it was not in the board packet that Bonnie sent you on last Friday. So you should have got this from me on Tuesday as a separate email once I figured out that that was not in your packet. And it does not include every single quote that we've had, just because there's a lot of moving parts. And I figured I don't think you needed 100 pages of quotes to get the idea, but it does include a few. We threw in the electric ones, the ones because it had a drawing for the sunshades themselves, and then some information as far as for the agility work, that the agility equipment for the dogs that are in there. So the first page on that one is actually the overall budget that we are currently working on for the dog park. This is down to based on either actual quotes that we've received or an estimate that we got that we didn't have a finalized quote for. So it includes the concrete pads, it includes the fence installation, it includes everything for the electric gate system, the modem hookup, as well as there will be 2 cameras set up. That was for a safety issue. We talked to security pros. They installed the dog park at Brownsburg as well as several others in the area. And that's where they've seen the most issues, is kind of like right there at the gate where dogs are coming and going. So they recommended installations of a camera that's facing towards the gate. And we've actually added a second camera that would allow to see the picnic shelter as well as the playground area, just for safety, any issues with vandalism, anything of that sort, that we have it set out. It includes all the electrical work to get electric to Heritage Trail Park. It'll be coming in right there at the picnic shelter. So as part of the dog park, the picnic shelter itself will have electric installed on it. And then that electric will already be run, that it could be utilized for the remainder of phase 2. So we're actually helping phase 2 along on that end. The installation of sun shelters, as trash cans, benches, dog waste stations, everything, including actually overseeding and fertilizing and aerating the area by earth and turf prior to it becoming an actual dog park. So as of right now, it's the low-mow turf. You realize that low-mow is gonna get beat up pretty quick. So we have on the schedule for this fall for earth and turf to come out and do an overall seeding, aeration, and fertilization to kind of get some fresh grass going in there to fill in any of the gaps that the low-mow currently has. So our estimate, you can see there, it's a little over 155,000. And then I threw in a little bit of contingency in case we come across something just in the midst of doing all the work. If something kind of comes up, we've got that little bit. So what I am asking of the board is that if you see that total with that contingency of a little shy of 171,000, that you approve that if there was something that came up, that as long as it falls within that budget amount, that you would allow me to go ahead and keep the project moving smoothly for a completion by the end of this year. I also went in there, since we were talking earlier about park impact fees, and pulled out the areas where you can see the use of park impact fees for some of the sun shelters, because we will have met our deficit, as well as after the sun shelter cost is pulled out of this overall budget, the 19% of the remainder of what would be the dog park. So you're looking at, in total, an allowance of 47,000 of park impact fees, and roughly about 124,000 or so of capital, which we do currently have in our budget. So this is nothing that's not currently in the budget that we can do. So if anyone has any questions about any of the items for the budget, again, just asking for, based on the numbers that you see that we put together here, having approval for me to go ahead and we can start scheduling these, ordering materials, and as long as it stays within that 10% contingency, working with Tammy as far as for park impact fee usage and getting this dog park built.
Yeah, great work, Mindy. Really, I'm sure, yeah, you and your team deserve kudos for this. So yeah, we're gonna hire Mindy here. We're doing general contract here, and we have money in our non-recurring capital. It was there for Holiday Nature Park, but that's been postponed. So it was convenient to have this come to the fore. So plenty of money in non-recurring for this. You've come in really under our budget estimate that we had in place last month, that Tricia helped us put together.
I have a question about the park impact fee.
Yes.
Since it's like for a very small minority of the population, whoever's going to pay to utilize this, does it really count for the community?
It does, because it was something that was identified in the document itself as something needed for the community. So it also benefits that right where Heritage Trail Park is. You've got the new homes with Hampshire going in. So you will be reaching out to that community as well.
For people with dogs. So that's what I'm saying. It's not for the general public.
It's going to be, there's a lot of people with dogs. To give you an idea, because the next thing we're going to go into is actually the memberships and rules. Carmel's Dog Park, they actually capped their membership at 600 dogs. They currently have a wait list. That they hit that number and then they put everyone on a wait list. So this, that'll be something working with, either if the park board wants to set a limit, or working with planning as far as what limit we want to do, if we want to set a limit. But yes, this will be definitely something that will be utilized by many, as well as even potentially outside of the community utilizing it.
I live on 2 acres, and I don't have to worry about, so it's one of those things that's just kind of out of my mind. So
not everyone lives on 2 acres, especially the homes around there. Yeah, a lot of them don't live on those 2 acres.
Any more questions about that?
I have a quick question about the contingency, and I'm not as familiar with construction like this as some others might be. Is that enough for contingency? Is that figure going to get us there?
I'm hoping, because there's not a whole lot to that. Our big worry was going to be things like the electric, things like the fence itself. Since we're not running a whole lot of lines, we've got pretty good quotes on those. My worry would be that, if they get into it and the electrician says, oh, well, we need to run this, and anything that might fall above that 5,000 mark that I have. I don't expect it, but we never know. And I don't want to put this project on hold till the next board meeting to get approval if it comes in at like $5,100 and I can't approve to keep that going. So this is just that little bit in case it would be needed to make sure that we're not slowing down any of the contractors that are coming in, just to keep things moving very smoothly. I don't expect to use it, but it's just there in case.
My history in the past is it's always the concrete is what's going to get you as far as on the contingency. So I've always used 10 to 15% and depending on the size of the project, and 10 seems pretty reasonable for this.
Yeah, and concrete work we are doing in-house. So we would just be covering the cost of the concrete itself, not the labor. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the project and the $171,000 price tag as submitted?
I'll make that motion to approve the project as it's presented here.
And utilizing park impact fees?
And utilizing the park impact fees, indeed, yes.
Yeah, well, it'd be 171 minus the amount that we can get reimbursed from park impact fees,
yes.
Which we're guesstimating at 28,000. So
I second.
Member Stair makes the motion. Member Solovich seconds to approve the financial project and authorizing our interim superintendent to proceed. Any more discussion? All right, let's do a roll call vote. Wallenberg.
Aye.
Bivens.
Aye.
Pack.
Aye.
Stair.
Aye.
Zalovich.
Aye.
All right, Cassidy also votes aye, so the motion unanimously passes. Okay, part B, Mindy.
Part B is memberships and rules. So that would have been in that packet towards the end. There were 2 pages. One was, so I went through and I reached out and tried to find as much information I could of the local dog parks in the area. I know I didn't have everything because not everything is available online or easy to find. So kind of went through there as far as what the requirements are for memberships and permits. They're pretty across the board, cut and dry, and you can see those there as far as the shots that are required, things that are recommended, the age of the dog. So 4 months is pretty much standard, nothing under 4 months. And that's basically when they get their first full round of shots. Waiver forms, and that would be something I would work with planning on, making sure we have a waiver, run it probably through Roger or definitely at least one of the town attorneys to approve that waiver that works for us for the town. Just making, basically, we are not liable if you're out there. Our signs would say the same thing, and you know, your dog bites someone else's dog. Parks are not liable for that. It also shows that we are looking at doing key fobs to get into the gate itself. You'll need to use your fob to get in, as well as use your fob to get out of the park itself. But then the dogs would have ID tags. They would be color coded by year. They would need to have their tag on them while they are there. The other one that's pretty across the board is having their rabies tag on them as well. And then by Boone County law, they either need to have an ID tag or a microchip, and that is by law in our county. The other one that's kind of across the board is the limit of 3 dogs per household. So unless anyone wants to go off of what pretty much all the other dog parks have as their kind of membership permits. The only thing that was different, and so the differences I've put in red, is that some dog parks require that dogs must be spayed and neutered. Others recommend it, but then they require that no dogs can, female dogs cannot be in the park if they are in heat. So that is one where the board would have to decide. I would recommend that we do the, we recommend they're spayed and neutered. Definitely not there when they're in heat, but we're not requiring that the dog needs to be spayed or neutered, keeping in mind that some people in Zionsville do have dogs that they breed. And as well as there are some breeds of dog that are not recommended to be spayed until they're much older in age than 4 months. So that would be my recommendation, is that we don't put that limit of they have to be spayed and neutered.
I agree with that. I've had an unspayed. Yeah, both my dogs now are spayed, but yeah, sometimes the spay and neutering can be kind of a hot button issue, but I don't, it gets a little out of hand sometimes for people who breed, or I don't think it's an issue for Zionsville.
Okay. And then under that are just the actual membership fees from the different parks. You can see they're kind of all over the board. The cheapest one I found was $40 a year per dog. The most expensive were definitely the privates, like Zionsville Country Kennels and Off the Leash, which were in the hundreds per month or per year. But roughly, between $40 and $75 a month is kind of the area that you're looking. And if you look at indie parks there, they actually offer a second dog discount. So that would be something. I don't think the board needs to make a decision, because we're not at that point where we are opening, and I haven't really worked with planning. We'll be handling all the permitting, so we haven't worked on that one. But talking with Tim and talking with planning a little bit, it definitely would be easier on that department to do a one charge per year versus a monthly charge that some of them have in. It's just less paper trail to keep track of, did we charge them this month or not? Just have a one flat, you turn in basically your permit application, your waiver form, show proof that you have all your shots and everything, pay your one fee, and you get your fob. But I don't have a recommendation. I leave it to the board to decide what fee you feel would be reasonable within Zionsville. And if you wanted a per dog, or if you wanted to offer wanted to do a per household, or if you wanted to do a discount for second, third dog. Yeah, I don't think we need to decide. I like the 70, 75, 50, 25, up to 3 dogs, but I don't, I'm not, we can decide later. That's kind of We can definitely, yeah, we can table.
I
it
see
for-
all different out there on the trail. I mean, there's all, I mean, I see, I see somebody with 4 dogs. I think one of them's a cat. This lady has a cat that goes along with them.
She won't be allowed in the dog park. No cat.
I have some questions or points.
Yeah.
I presume that that the design of this fenced-in area at the gate, will there be, I think they're called escape control areas, so that they have to go through 2 gates to get out? So the
Right, so
dog-
yeah, there's actually gonna be 3 pens. So there'll be a center pen, each pen will be 8 by 8. The center pen will have the entrance gate. So they use their fob to get in, and then they're in an 8 by 8 enclosure with gates. Then from there, they decide if they want to go to the door on the left or the door on the right. And the reason we set that one up is because we're going to have 2 areas. So we can set one as small dog and one as large dog. And then if we needed to, 6 months down the year, the large dog area looks like it needs some, recovery, we can easily just switch the signs. And then the small dogs would use that area. There'll be less small dogs, they do less damage, and that would allow the grass to recover. We could do some grass maintenance on it. But then they would, let's say they went off to the left, they'd enter another 8 by 8 pen, and then they'd go out into the park. So each side will have its own 8 by 8, and then the center 8 by 8. So it hopefully will prevent any of those escapees, but also that ability that we won't have those, there still is that potential to have that interaction. And that's why the camera was recommended to have it there, right, facing towards the pen. So if we did get someone that said, hey, my dog was attacked, that's likely where it's going to happen, is right there at those pens.
That was my second question, and you answered that about small dog, large dog, segregated areas. Okay. I happen to know someone that had a large dog and was in a confined area with a small dog, and the large dog almost killed that small dog before anyone could take action. So we want to make sure that there's segregated areas. The other question I have on all of the vaccines and parasite stool samples and et cetera, that will strictly be a waiver that people will sign. There'll be no one really checking this, right? So they'll sign a waiver that they've taken care of all this, and that's
the way that they set them up, and the way that I'm assuming this is going to be where they would have to go into town hall, is that they would have to show proof. So they would have to, from their vet, bring in to show proof of their recent shots, as well as like a negative stool test and heartworm test.
Okay.
Or but yeah, they would have to show that veterinarian proof before they would be issued a permit. So.
One thing I was just thought of, 'cause like I said, never been in one. Is there any like emergency egress? Because I see you got double locked doors. Is there any concern with that? That you're in a confined space, only one way in, one way out. If there's,
it's pretty standard for a dog park. I mean, it's kind of that for those people that utilize a dog park, if someone's in a pen, you wait until they get out of that pen before you go in. Is kind of the, I guess the nice way of behaving in a dog park.
I'm thinking of like emergency situations where you got to get out, and now you got a double door you have to go through. Is there any?
I haven't heard of anything.
How tall is the fence?
This fence is 6 foot. So if someone truly wanted to jump it, they could get going and could do that one. So I haven't heard of anything emergency wise.
Anybody have any opinions on kids?
Oh, now we got to get into the rules. Yeah,
Oh,
so the next
okay, you're not
page.
there yet. All
Yeah,
right.
well,
Yeah, we should-
we're not, you guys don't have to approve anything right now. This is just the summary of information I got for you. So the second page is the dog park rules. And again, these are pretty much cut and dry from one dog park to the next. This is really what they go off of. Really, the only difference are the ones that I've marked again in red, and you're welcome to go through all of these, but they basically are, you know, the dog park's dawn to dusk, no animals other than dogs, make sure the gates are properly closed, respect the size restrictions, your permits required, vaccinations, the dogs that must be on a leash as they enter and exit, and they also must have a leash on them. So again, if their dog is having an issue, they have a leash that they're able to get a hold of their dog as they need to. The ones that are red would be, this is where you can weigh in, is and you can see the different parks there that I got this from, is that most will say that they are no more than 2 dogs per handler at one time. Brownsburg and Franklin allow 3 dogs per person at one time. So that's kind of a variation between the different parks. And then the other variation has to deal with children. And you can see it's kind of all over the board. Some will say that they need to be at least 6 years of age, would be Fort Harrison. No children younger than 8 was Plainfield. No children under 12 was Franklin and Monroe County Parks. No children under 16 was for one of the private run dog parks. And then Fort Harrison and Monroe had children under 16 must be accompanied by adult, and Brownsburg actually had children under 18 must be accompanied by an adult. So those are the kind of the variations. So things to think about is, you know, what the board would feel comfortable with as far as how many dogs per person, and then really kids. When we talking about children, you know, we've already had in there the rules that, you know, don't bring bicycles and strollers and children's toys and or you can do training treats, but food and things of that sort into the dog park. But when it comes to actual kids that might be with their parents, you know, at what age do you feel that they should be allowed in there? Keeping in mind that you're talking dogs are running around and playing, and there'll be dog agility equipment and other items going on.
Any questions? So this would be something that, yeah, good work again on this, on the benchmarking. So this would be something we'd want to adopt in the next month or two. But this is, yeah, this gets us 96% there, I think. So does everybody agree with that, or anybody want to go back to the, you know, again, this is going to save us a lot of time in a month or two when we're ready to adopt the final version. All right. Thank you on the dog park report.
Yep.
All right. Are there any other board related items? Let's move to claims then. Are there any questions on claims that were submitted to you in your package? If not, is there a motion to approve claims as submitted?
I move we approve the claims as submitted.
Member Bivens moves. Any second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jill Pack seconds the motion to approve claims. Roll call vote. Wallenberg,
Aye.
Bivens,
Aye.
Pack,
Aye.
Dare,
Aye.
Salovich.
Aye.
I also vote aye, so the motion unanimously carries. All right, is there a motion to adjourn until our next scheduled meeting on the 14th of October?
Hey, Tim, quickly on the next meeting is during the Zionsville schools fall break, and I have a probable conflict. I don't know if anybody else has that same thing, but just putting it out there.
The conflict here.
Anybody? All right, well,
I'll know more, but I'll
okay.
letting you know.
Let's go forward for the yeah, we can talk about, yeah, you're gonna have, yeah, you get a break.
Yeah, enjoy your time off, John.
Yeah.
Well, no,
I think I'll be out of town, but I'll have Wi-Fi. So
the kids are home. It's a break from school, not a break.
break for them, not you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the schools were all, everything was condensed and there's no break once they're in it. But,
So sorry to delay. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Wallenberg makes motion to adjourn, seconded by Stair. All in favor, raise your hand. Oh, it's unanimous for sure.
Unanimous.
All right, park
Everybody.
lovers, thank you once again for your contributions, your time and your efforts. We appreciate it. It's been a long meeting. It's been a busy couple of months. So yeah, thanks. And we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Hey.